Well, good morning and welcome to Coffee with the Pastor. Uh, we've been talking about grace and space, how to give people grace and space, and how to ask for grace and space from yourself. And we have looked at Jesus' relationship with people he ministered to, and then we've looked at Jesus' relationship with his disciples. This week, we're looking specifically at how Jesus related to Peter. And Peter, I kind of define him as somebody who kind of goes between very spiritual to very carnal. And he can go there quickly. And yet Jesus was very patient with him, gave him grace and space. And though Peter was all over the map, Jesus molded him into being the leader of the disciples. He was the leader. He was the guy who helped, and we're going to see that. But today I want to look at a couple incidences that happened. Jesus has taken a little break. He's been doing all these healings, teachings. Thousands of people are going. So he's going to go up a little north of Galilee to where he's not quite so well known. The place is Tyre and Sidon, and he's going to go up there. It would be modern day Lebanon probably. And he's going to go, and on the way, there is a place that's in Galilee, but on the way out, and it's called Caesarea Philippi. It is a big hill that's a big rock. I mean, that's just what it is. And I've been there many times. It's one of my favorite places to visit in Israel when we go. Syria is on the other side of that big rock. So, I mean, I was over there one time when the Syrian war was going on with ISIS, and you could literally hear the bombs going off in the background. So it was kind of interesting. But it's quite a place. In the time of Jesus, it was a Roman city, but it had been built around Roman temples to idols, to gods. And the biggest one there was the god Pan, because down at the bottom of some of that rock, there's a cave. Now, in Jesus' day, that cave had water running through it. And they built a temple of Pan right in front of it. And they would go worship Pan. And Pan was the god that was the gatekeeper to the entrance of Hades, the place of the dead. And it was thought that souls would go through that cave where the water was, and that's where the god Pan would allow souls that had died to go there to be in the abode of the dead. And they have models of that, or mimics of that, drawings of it when you go there. They had others, it was to Zeus and others. They had several there. But Jesus brought his disciples there. And right in front of it, and I think it's probably right in front of Pan, the temple Pan where he's at, Jesus looks at his disciples and says, who do men say I am? Who do people say I am? And so some say you're Elijah, some of you say John the Baptist, and others say one of the prophets. And then Jesus asks, now, who do you say that I am? And Peter pipes up and says, thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God. And Jesus gets all excited. Peter has recognized who Jesus is. He's the Christ, the Son of the living God. He's Messiah. And Jesus goes, blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah. Flesh and blood has not revealed this, but the Spirit of the living God. You'll no longer be known as Simon, but you'll be known as Petros, rock, Peter. And I think he pointed at himself, and upon this I will build my church. And I think it's what Peter had said, that he was the Christ, the Son of the living God, is what they were going to build a church on. He says, upon this I'll build my church. And he says, the gates of Hades, the gates of hell will not prevail against it. And of course, they're standing right there in front of it. And so it's a very powerful time. Peter does well. Peter gets the right answer. Peter's recognized who Jesus is. And yet, a little later, and we're talking probably a little later, on their way to Sidon, Tyre. They're talking, and Jesus began to prepare them. He said, I'm going to have to be killed at the hands of the religious leaders, and I'm going to die. And then I'll be raised again. But he's telling them about that. He's trying to teach them about that and tell them what's going to come. And Peter says, Lord, I'd never let that happen. That's not going to happen to you. I'll never let that happen. And Jesus has to look at Peter and say, get behind me, Satan. Because basically what Peter's doing is the voice of Satan, because Jesus knows what his quest is. He knows what his mission is. His mission is to die for people's sins. And Peter's trying to persuade him not to do that. And so that's, again, very high to very low. And then the very next chapter, in chapter 17, we see, and we talked a little bit about this last week, go up on the Mount of Transfiguration. And there, Moses and Elijah appear to Jesus and talk with Jesus. And of course, you have the representative of the law and representative of the prophets there, and they're talking with Jesus. And Jesus is what they call transformed or transfixed. Glorified is his face becomes just glowing and all. And Jesus is taking Peter, James, and John with him, and they're laying there, and they don't know what to think. They're scared. They're awed and all. And then after Elijah and Peter speaks, and he probably should have just kept silent, but he says, Lord, it'd be good for us to build 3 tabernacles here. One for Moses, one for Elijah, and one for you. And Peter didn't get it then. He did not get it. Then the cloud comes down and the voice of God speaks to him. This is my son, whom I love, honor him. That Jesus is greater than Moses, and Jesus is greater than Elijah. And so here's Peter. Up, down, up, down, up, down. And truthfully, that's how we live our lives a lot. We take a couple steps forward, a couple steps back, but we need to always be going forward in our spirituality. But there are times when Jesus gives us grace and space to make our mistakes and all, but he's always calling us back, always bringing us back, and always wanting us to go further, go more, and go and do more, which Peter will eventually get there. And we'll study more about that in the next 2 days. Hope you have a great day, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.